Good day everyone, you're welcome again. My name is Moyo. Today's class we'll be looking at IELTS Academic Reading. We will see what the IELTS Academic Reading test is all about. So we'll go on a break shortly and we'll be back. Welcome back. So like I said, we are looking at the IELTS Academic Reading. Now, the difference between the IELTS Academic Reading and the IELTS General Training lies in the level of difficulties and the passages. Now, the General Training, we often have two passages in Section 1 and Section 2, then one passage in Section 3. But that is not the case for IELTS Academic. IELTS Academic, we have just one passage under the first section. Section 1 has just one passage and is a very lengthy passage. It's a very lengthy passage, like I've said. Now, most of the time, the first passage, which is Section 1, we will have it this way, reading passage 1. So once you've seen reading passage 1, that simply means that is Section 1, or the first part of the reading test, and it's usually comprised of 14 questions or 13 questions. Like in this example, we have 13 questions. We have questions 1 to 13 based on this passage, and we have to spend 20 minutes. I hope that's clear. We have to spend 20 minutes on this particular passage. Now let's look at the different questions under reading passage 1, or question common to reading passage 1. Now you see, we have the first set of questions. Now the first set of questions is true, false, not given. True, false, not given. This question is common with part 1 or section 1 of the reading test, academic reading test. And you can see we have question 1 to 7. That means we have 6 more questions left. So this first set of questions is true, false, not given. Now the second question. The second question, which is for question 8 to 13, that means the other 6 questions, is short answer, also known as fill in the gap. So now you will notice that questions that are common under academic reading section 1, we have true, false, not given, we have the short answer, and sometimes we have matching features. I hope that is clear. So now let's go on and look at section 2. Let's see questions that are common under section 2. Now we are on reading passage 2, like you can see. So we have question 14 to 26, sometimes could be 15 to 27, but in this situation it is 14 to 26 because section 1 or reading passage 1 is question 1 to 13. But when we have question 1 to 14 underneath section 1, then section 2 would be 15 to 27. So have that in mind. We're also answering this in 20 minutes. So once you've seen reading passage 2, just know you are on to the second part of the reading test. Is that taken? The second part of the reading test. So now let's look at questions that are common with this other part. Now, one of the questions that is common under this second part is what we call matching features. We have matching features. Sometimes we have the list of any, but in this case we have matching features. And that is for question 14 to 19. So that means we have about 5 questions based on matching features. Now the next set of questions is the multiple choice question. Multiple choice question. Now this is the second type of multiple choice question where you are being required to pick 2 options. You are being required to pick 2 options. That simply means this question is serving question 20, is also serving question 21. So you have to pick one option which will be the answer to question 20, question number 20 rather, and you have to pick another option which will be the answer to question number 21. Is that taken? So you can see now we have multiple choice. The first set was matching features, that's 14 to 19. Now 20 and 21 we have multiple choice. You can see that we have two sets already, two different kind of question already on that particular passage. Now the third is short answer. So under section 2, most of the time we are being given 2 or 3 different kind of question. In this example, we have matching features, we have multiple choice, and now we have short answer, which is also known as fill in the gap. But in this situation, it is summary completion. It is summary completion. Is that taken? So now let's look at the third section, reading passage 3.
Hi, if you have not subscribed to this channel, you can do so in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And don't forget to hit the notification button.
Now this is the third passage. Now once you have reading passage 3, you are on the last section of the reading test. Like I mentioned earlier, we have 3 sections or 3 parts, but for the academic, it is the passages that will notify you and tell you that you are on another section. So passage 3 is the last section of the academic reading tests. Now these also have about 3 questions, that is 3 different question type or more, this last section. So we are going to look at the question type common to passage 3. Okay, now you see that this is the first set of questions under the last section, multiple choice, 27 to 30. So this is about 4 questions and multiple choice. Now multiple choice under this last section is always specific because you have a direction that you're working with. What I meant by that is that the question is directing you to a specific aspect of the passage. Now, for example, the first question says, what point does the writer make about misinformation in the first paragraph? What point does the writer make about misinformation in the first paragraph? This simply means you go directly to the first paragraph. You will have no business with the second paragraph or the third paragraph when you are answering this particular question, because you have been given the direction to go. So you go there and search out for the answer. Now let's look at the next set of questions. Okay, now the next set of questions, that's 31 to 36. That's about 5 questions. We have summary completion as well. Now, but this summary completion is the other kind of summary completion, whereby we are being given some words in a box which is underneath the question. Let's go down to that place, please. Yes. We are being given some option in this box. Now, what we are expected to do here majorly is to read the passage, and from the passage we try to identify where this summary is being clued from, or where this summary, the aspect of the passage this summary is dealing with. So once we've gotten that, or once we've identified that, we are to read through. After reading through, we are to pick words from that passage. The appropriate words we have picked will now come down to this box, and we are to pick the synonym of the particular word we have picked from the passage, and that is what we are going to pick from this box. So because all of the words contained in this box are synonyms of words written in the passage. So once we've gotten the synonym, we are to pick the alphabet in front and we are going to write that down as our answer. So that's how we answer this. So summary completion is also another common question under section 3. Now let's look at the last question. Now the last question is yes, no, not given. It's also similar to true, false, not given, because they want us to identify the opinion or the claims of the writer. The opinion or the claims of the writer. Now, if the opinion is the same thing, that means the opinion being expressed in the question is the same thing as that of the one we have in the passage, our answer is going to be yes. And if the opinion is contrary, our answer will be no. But if the opinion is an assumption, we can't say whether it is yes or whether it is no. We can't really decide what the writer's opinion is. Our answer will be not given. Now, a quick one. Most of the time, most candidates would write true instead of writing yes. If you write true instead of writing yes, it's going to be marked wrong. And the reason is because in the first part of the question, which is section 1 or passage 1, we already have true, false, not given question type. So most of the candidates would still carry that idea and think the answer should be true, whereas the instruction specifically says yes, no, not given. So always pay attention to the instruction and write down what the instruction says. I hope that is clear. We'll go on a short break and I'll be back shortly. Okay, so now let's look at examples of the different question type under reading passage 1, academic, IELTS academic test, reading passage 1. Now, like we mentioned earlier, true, false, not given is one common question under IELTS academic reading passage 1, also known as section 1. So we are going to look at some example and see how we could answer the question. Now the instruction is there. Like I mentioned earlier, pay attention to the instruction. The instruction is your friend, so always read the instruction, please. So now let's read the instruction. We have, do the following statements agree with information given in reading passage 1? Do the following statements agree with information given in reading passage 1? In boxes 1 to 7 on your answer sheet, write true if the statement agrees with information, false if the statement contradicts the information, not given if there is no information on this. Now we have the first question. People are expected Andy Murray to become the world's top tennis player for at least 5 years before 2016. People had expected Andy Murray to become the world's top tennis player for at least 5 years before 2016. That is the question. So what the information we are picking from this question is Andy Murray, world top tennis player 5 years before 2016. Those are the key information we are picking from the question. So we are not going back to the passage, specifically the first paragraph. Exactly. So this is it. This is where our answer lies. So we have the first sentence. We're going to read the first sentence and we're going to read the last sentence. Now the first sentence says, in 2016, the British professional tennis player Andy Murray was ranked as the world's #1. Now the last sentence we have, yet 5 years previously, he had been regarded as a talented outsider who entered but never won the major tournament. Now the passage says 5 years previously, that means 5 years before 2016. 5 years before 2016. By everybody in the world, Andy Murray has been regarded as a talented outsider who entered but never won major tournaments. So that simply means, based on this information we've been given, our answer to the first question is going to be false. Let's go back to the question. Yes. Our answer is going to be false because the question says everyone expected him to become the world top tennis player at least 5 years before 2016. Whereas what the passage said was that 5 years before, he was considered, oh, he's talented because he was actually not a professional tennis player at the initial stage. Oh, he's talented, but he has not won anything. That's everybody's assumption. So we were not really expecting to become the world's top tennis player. That was not the expectation. So our answer is false because we can correct that expression from the passage. So it is incorrect. That is what makes our answer false. Now the next one, we have the change that Andy Murray made to his rackets attracted a lot of attention. The change that Andy Murray made to his rackets attracted a lot of attention. So the key information we are picking from this is Andy Murray made to his racket. That is the change he made to his racket attracted a lot of attention. The emphasis is on attracted a lot of attention. Attracted a lot of attention. So let's go to the passage. I think that should be in the second paragraph. Yes. The second paragraph. Now, the second paragraph, we have of the changes that account for this transformation. One was visible and widely publicized. In 2011, Murray invited former #1 player Ivan Lendl on his coaching team, a valuable addition that had a visible impact on the player's playing style. Full stop. That does not mention rackets, so that means that's not what we are looking for. Now the next sentence says, another change was so subtle as to pass more or less unnoticed. Another change was so subtle. The key word there is subtle. That means very, very little or very small. As to pass more or less unnoticed. Now the next sentence, like many players, Murray has long preferred a racket that consists of two types of string, one for the mains, verticals, another for the crosses, horizontals. While he continued to use natural string in the crosses, in 2012, he switched to a synthetic string for the mains. A small change perhaps, but its importance should not be underestimated. Can you see that? A small change. Sometimes it's not even noticed. So that simply means the changes Murray made to his rackets was unnoticed. It was not publicized. So that means our answer is going to be false. Let's go to the question again and check. You can see we have the change that Andy made to his rackets attracted a lot of attention. That is false. We were told it was going unnoticed, was very, very small. People did not really notice that. The one that they noticed was that he had a top tennis player on his team. That was the one that was noticed. But the one to his racket was not noticed. So our answer is false. I hope that is clear. Okay, so now let's look at another example rather. Okay, another example is note completion. We can say short answer, we can say fill in the gap. We are still saying the same thing. Now, one thing with this question type is that the title is very important. The title is very important. And why the title is very important is because the title is guiding you to where the question lies. The title is guiding you to where the question lies, where you can actually see the question. So we have the first one. Mike and Bob Byron made changes to the types of dash used on their racket frames. So we already have the tennis racket and how it has changed. That's the title. Then we have Mike and Bob Byron. So we go directly to the passage and we check out for Mike and Bob Byron. And I think that should be here, or that should be in the fourth paragraph. Yes, this is where we have it. Okay, now this is where we have it. We have the modification that Murray made is just one of a number of options available to players looking to tweak their rackets in order to improve their games. Okay, now we have, take the US professional tennis players, Mike and Bob Byron, for example. We are very particular with our racket specifications. They say, all our rackets are sent from our manufacturer to Tampa, Florida, where our frames go through a thorough customization process. Can you see where we've seen Mike and Bob Byron? So that simply means this is where our answer lies. And we don't need to go to the beginning, we just keep going downwards. Because most of the time, the questions are in a sequence. So let's go back to the question to know which word we are to fill in. So like I said, pay attention to the instruction. Now the instruction says, choose one word only. Choose one word only from the passage for each answer. That means we are to choose just one. Now we have Mike and Bob Byron make changes to the types of dash used on their racket frames. To the type of dash used on their racket frames. So we go over and check where that information is. This is where we have it. Now, we have the racket they use now weigh more than the average model and also have a denser stretch pattern. So let's move on. We have, they explain how they have adjusted not only racket lengths but even experimented with different kinds of paints. Now what we are going to pick from here would be lengths and paints. Then we'll go back to the sentence and see which of it fits. So we have Mike and Bob Byron made changes to the types of lengths used on their racket frames. No, that does not fit. So let's move on. Mike and Bob Byron made changes to the types of paints used on their racket frames. I think that fits. So our answer here would be paint. I hope it's clear. So now let's move on to the second one. Players were not allowed to use the spaghetti strong racket because of the amount of dash it created. Players were not allowed to use the spaghetti strong racket because of the amount of dash it created. So that will be in the paragraph underneath. Now the paragraph underneath, this is where we have it. This is where we have it, yes. So this is the paragraph that has that. So we have racket modifications mainly dates back to the 1970s when the amateur German tennis player Werner Fischer started playing with the so-called spaghetti strong rackets. It created a string bed that generated so much top spin that it was quickly banned by the International Tennis Federation. It created a string bed that generated so much top spin. So much top spin. Pay attention to this word, so much and top spin. Let's go back to the question. Now, players were not allowed to use the spaghetti strong rackets because of the amount of dash it created. Amount of, so much, they are synonymous with each other. So, now what do we have in front of so much? Top spin. That's our answer. So we have players were not allowed to use the spaghetti strong rackets because of the amount of top spin it created.